And we begin with that breaking news at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. That's where two people, including an Atlanta police officer, have been stabbed. This happened at the south terminal of the airport. We just got this video from the airport. You can see everyone in one of the security checkout point lines on their knees right after the stab. Fox 5's Morse Diggs has just confirmed that police now have a suspect in custody. We're told Atlanta police officials are en route to the scene. We don't know the extent of the injuries at this point. We'll bring you updates as soon as we have them.
When this news broke on the evening of October 11th, 2023, many wondered, how did a woman get in the airport with a weapon? A lot of folks just assumed that this woman was at the airport beyond the checkpoint, and I can confirm here that she was not. People are also conditioned today to immediately start talking about mental health. So right away, the conversation wasn't about what the evil woman did, but more so coddling her and making excuses for her horrible behavior, like she's a child that didn't know what she was doing. Then I heard a lot of complaints about the Atlanta airport. Why? I don't know. It's the busiest airport in the world, and in my opinion, it's ran pretty well considering how much traffic they get down there. We go to airports all the time with less traffic, and they're still not as efficient as Hartsfield-Jackson. So I give them credit for that. And because we didn't know whether or not the suspect was an ATLian, I didn't jump to conclusions right away. Why? Because I realized that most of the stories I cover of lunatics at the airport, they're usually folks from out of town. That's almost always the case. And here's a similar one. I'll explain that in a minute. Now, because the woman's mugshot wasn't released right away, black people started thinking that the suspect was a white woman, or because the suspect was still alive, they didn't believe it was a black woman, like this person here, who says she was arrested, most likely means she was white. Had she been black, she would have been deleted. Well, I'll say this. I can confirm that at the time of the reports, the woman wasn't even booked in jail yet in order to have a mugshot. So that's why you didn't see it right away. She didn't take her mugshot until a quarter before 10 o'clock that night. So when social media started hearing about this and the news made a quick report, that's before the Clayton County Jail even had time to process a suspect. And two, female privilege is also a thing. If it was a black man, he would have been out of here and on his way to have a meeting with the Most High. But women of any race are generally not held to the same level of accountability of any man, especially a black one. I found out that she was arrested and transported to the Clayton County Jail on 4 charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And I have to tell you, when she walked into the Zoom court the next day, I was like,
Papa, who's this woman?
Yeah, that's 44-year-old Damaris Rolanda Milton. She's certainly a clown the way she took this picture on purpose to sabotage the image. They should have made her retake it. And no, I'm not buying what she's selling. Lock her up. It wasn't Karen today, it was Keisha. And no, crazy Keisha is not from Atlanta. She's from Orlando, Florida. So yeah, we're dealing with an original Florida flamingo. Not sure when she made her way to Atlanta, but she still has a Florida license. They're saying that she is homeless, and she's been spotted at the airport several times. It's a lot going on here. Don't worry, I got you. But first, take a second to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and click the notification bell for all updates. Now let's get the jurisdiction established here. It happened at the Atlanta airport, but this is definitely a product of Central Florida. So Orlando, y'all got to answer for your people here. If you're watching from Orlando, definitely let me know below. You had a taxi driver, he was hustling, he was working. Shout out to the honest, hard-working taxi drivers, Uber, Lyft. This man was at work, getting money to provide for his family when he ended up at the MARTA in Decatur, Georgia, the Kensington station. That's where he picked up this woman here. She told him she needed a ride to the airport. He did not know this woman. She was just a customer. Now, let me tell you why her request automatically raised red flags. Think about it. If you're at the MARTA, why are you taking the taxi to the airport? You're already on the train. All she had to do was take her unruly self from the Decatur train station to downtown Atlanta to the airport. Very simple. So that was a red flag. And now that I'm finding out that she's homeless, it makes sense. You can always find homeless people at this airport, in those areas before TSA. Now, if investigators could press her on that more, they could probably pinpoint the motive here, if any. But she hopped into the taxi, got on Interstate 285, and as the driver got closer to the airport, the woman stabbed him in the upper chest, near his right shoulder. Then she grabbed his phone and threw it out of the window. The driver continued towards the airport where the woman jumped out of the taxi. Then someone told an Atlanta police officer that there was a woman with a knife. The officer used his radio to alert other officers, and 2 of them spotted her. They began to follow her, and one of them saw her, quote, swipe her knife at a Delta Airlines employee, cutting the woman on the left side of her chest. That's when an APD lieutenant attempted to arrest the woman, took out his taser, but this flamingo was obviously made of steel. She's a Lincoln Town car or something. I don't know. She's a Gen Xer from Florida, so I'll call her Box Chevy. So the officer tried to get Box Chevy under control, but everything he tried just didn't work. Seriously though, they said the woman had on more than 1 pair of pants. So the officer pulled out his pepper spray to spray this Florida flamingo down, but that operation failed too. After spraying the pepper spray towards Box Chevy, the officer ended up slipping on the spray on the ground. I'm telling you, this was so wild and sounded like a scene of Home Alone meets Michael Myers. Next thing you know, Box Chevy bent down and stabbed the officer in his left leg. The second officer took Box Chevy down to the ground, cuffed her, and he put a tourniquet on the lieutenant. Then they went out to the taxi driver and applied a seal to his chest to stop the bleeding. All 3 victims were transported to the hospital, the woman working for Delta transported to Emory, while the lieutenant and the taxi driver, those 2 men had to be transported to a level 1 trauma center that's Grady in Atlanta. As the victims made their way to the hospital, Box Chevy was transported to the Clayton County Jail, where she took this ridiculous picture here. She's obviously one evil clown for sure, and she did her eyes like that on purpose. She knew she would get arrested, she knew she would make the news, and even as all this was going on, you could hear this woman telling people to put this out on the internet. You had so many in the airport impacted by this. They told everybody to get on the ground, all the innocent people, innocent bystanders, looking like they're a part of a raid or something, forced to get down on the dirty ground all because of Box Chevy? Yeah, Box Chevy the Still Woman. 44-year-old Damaris Rolanda Milton, she's got a long rap sheet out of Florida, and after seeing her old record and lack of accountability, this airport situation in Atlanta started to make a lot more sense.
We're learning more about Wednesday's violent attack at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport that sent 3 people to the hospital. 44-year-old Damaris Milton allegedly stabbed an Atlanta police officer and 2 other people before she was disarmed and taken into custody. Fox 5's Deidre Dukes is live at Hartsfield-Jackson with new details for us at 4. Deidre?
And Milton remains behind bars at the Clayton County Jail after a judge denied bond. Now, the police report lists a Florida address for her, but sources tell Fox 5 that she is homeless and a frequent visitor here at the airport. This evening, still no word, no motive as to what sparked this violence.
You have been charged with 4 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. I have considered but am denying bond on all counts.
Suspect Damaris Milton made a brief court appearance via Zoom Thursday morning. It's still unclear what sparked Wednesday's violent attack at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport that left a taxi driver, a Delta Airlines employee, and an Atlanta police officer hospitalized with stab wounds. According to Atlanta police, the ordeal began after taxi driver Solomon Gabi Melkamu picked Milton up from the Kensington MARTA station. She wanted to be transported to Hartsfield Airport. As they approached the airport on 285 South after passing the international exit sign, Milton reportedly stabbed the driver, then reached for his phone and threw it onto the interstate. This is video of airport travelers after TSA workers told them to get to the ground as officers responded to reports of a knife-wielding woman at the airport. 2 officers located Milton and began to follow her while alerting other officers and a U.S. Deputy Marshal to her location. Milton made her way to the South Terminal, and that is where they say she then stabbed Delta employee Jonah Collins, cutting her chest. Officials say Milton ignored several commands for her to drop her weapon. One of the officers deployed his taser, but that did not bring Milton down. A second officer then attempted to tase the woman, who was still armed with a knife, and then deployed his pepper spray. That is when police say Milton stabbed Atlanta Police Lieutenant David Cannon before another officer tackled Milton. She was then disarmed and taken into custody.
And would you like a public defender to represent you?
Y'all already just said what y'all gonna do to me. Why am I answering any questions?
And And Fox 5 is working to confirm reports that we received that there may be some sort of a mental issue with Milton. We have not been able to confirm that. As for the victims, 2 were transported to Grady yesterday, a 3rd victim to Emory Hospital. And we are told that the suspect will be back in court in November. That's the latest here at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. Deidre Dukes, Fox 5 News.
It's a crazy turn of events there. All right, thanks so much, Deidre.
It was horrible. Thankfully, nothing happened to any of the travelers there. It's always so many people there. Tens of thousands going through Hartsfield-Jackson at any time. But I really feel bad for the hardworking people just doing their jobs when they came in contact with this wicked woman, who, by the way, had the nerve to have an attitude when she went to court the next day. She's acting like she was inconvenienced by everybody else when she's the one who got herself in jail. She refused to be cooperative with the judge from the time he told her to hold her hand up and tell the truth. I could tell that this woman was obviously a junkie.
Okay, ma'am. Good morning. Can you state your name for me? And I think the microphone is still on mute there.
Smith.
All right.
Smith.
Hang on just a second. We're going to go. All right. Can you state your name one more time, ma'am?
He's talking.
Brenda
Smith.
She was up there lying about her name. She said her name was Brenda Smith. Just being ridiculous and uncooperative for no reason. Acting like a middle school girl that's mad about not getting her way.
Oh, I'm looking for Damaris Milton. Are you Damaris Milton?
This is Milton.
All right, Miss Milton, you have been charged with 4 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. I have considered but am denying bond on all counts this morning. I've scheduled a preliminary hearing for you. That is going to take place on November the 13th at 8:30 a.m. Those hearings are conducted over the computer, just like this one. Would you like to apply to have a public defender represent you on these charges? Ma'am, would you like a public defender to represent you?
Y'all already just said what y'all gonna do to me. Why am I answering any questions?
All right. Hey, ma'am, I'm going to go ahead and assign a counsel to assist you on your case. Thank you, ma'am. That'll take care of everything this morning.
Glad he didn't let the box Chevy back on the road in the streets. She's a danger to society as she attacked 3 people at work. She should really be locked up forever. Her next court date is November 13th. And yeah, I just don't see it. There is no way this woman should be going anywhere. And I don't know, if she didn't have a place to stay, she probably wanted to go there. The judge made the right call here. She wanted to be the class clown so bad, so here it is. Just pathetic. And even still, I don't care what she's on or what type of mental issues people are trying to put on her. She should still be held accountable. But I'm sorry, all these mental health excuses, that does not give you the authority and license to do evil to people and get away with it. They should be held accountable and thrown in prison just like they do all the other people. I don't care what you do, but do not let them out on the streets to wreak havoc on the lives of innocent people. If this was a man, no one would care. He's going to get 25 years for each victim regardless, especially one of them being an officer. He had to go through all this to get her down. Up here risking his life and limbs for the safety of the general public. And to be honest, after she stabbed 2 people, he really could have deleted her. But also kudos to these officers for doing what they did, keeping everybody safe. And this woman was arrested without a scratch on her. It was amazing that nobody else got hurt because this woman was on a self-deletion mission and she was trying to get at anybody. The officers on the scene saved the lieutenant's life, the Delta employee, and the cab driver's life. Everybody is expected to recover from this, and that's because of the quick aid from the officers on site, the paramedics, and the hospital staff at Grady and Emory. Everybody really came together to make this less tragic because that demonic rebel literally tried to paint the airport red. At the time of this video, I still only see 4 charges, but they really need to upgrade that. She definitely earned more. And really quick, I see people all the time talking about mental health. If all these women are just so crazy and sick in the head, why is it that they're not institutionalized before they do stuff like this? If they're so crazy, they have no sense mentally, and you have all these mental health advocates, why are they not all getting rounded up and sent to the insane asylum. Because here's where I am with it. By the time they commit a crime like this, the insane asylum should be off the table. Put them in a hole somewhere at the prison. And make sure y'all get Box Chevy down there to that prison and give her 54 to 75 years. She's already 44. So whatever you do, she is too old to be handled with kid gloves. This is a grown woman. And like I said before, she's got a long rap sheet and she was never really held accountable for anything, even back in Florida. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Let me know what you think about this below. Special thanks to Sabrina. I appreciate you, Sabrina, for all of your support, as well as Tiffany and Bruce. Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like and share.